Okay, so here we are working on replacing these O-rings in here, and these nipple cups as they're called. And I got some Viton O-rings. Trying to pick some stuff up here, it gets piled up. These are supposed to be pretty good O-rings here. And this is the removal tool, and I'm really banging this thing up, I know, getting them out of here, but it goes in here into that like so, and then the closest thing I've got is a 15/16 I believe I'm using right there to fit it. I believe this size is like some sort of a metric, so they're pretty easy to zip out of there with that. So that's all I'm doing, and then I'm just digging this O-ring from out of here. Okay, so I've taken all these out of here, and you can definitely tell these things are very hardened and brittle, and it's a big difference in feel. Tell these hadn't been messed with. Now, it doesn't mean that they were leaking, but you know, they're definitely getting very hardened and brittle at this point, and don't want any weak links, you know. So this is just one of those things in this high pressure system that has to be done. And like I said, the standpipes look like they updated some of those, and they look to be alright, so I'm not really going to worry with them right now. If I did have to do them, it's not a big deal to get in the truck and redo them. And it's a good time to inspect. Whoever went into this last time, this is dinged up right here, and that right there could cause problems, so I'm going to have to take a file to that right there and just knock that burr off of there, so that's going to set down flat. So all we got to do here was just going to clean these out a little bit, and we'll get some clean oil onto these, and we'll just set these right in here. Yeah, I just took some clean oil and just set all those into place there. And we're going to go ahead and get our cups back on, and this tool will align this as well. Actually got this in the wrong spot here. But this tool will go in here and align these, and we'll just get them all hand tightened first, and then we'll get them torqued down here. This, compared to a lot of the other stuff, these here are pretty simple, but still a very big deal, and a must to be replaced. Okay, so I'm going 75 foot-pounds on all these. So we just place our tool back in its socket, and we just set this to 75 foot-pounds, and we're going to torque each and every one of these. And this was a cheaper tool, by the way. I didn't pay very much for it, and like I said, it may not be that good, but you know, I'm going to use it once. If I ever have to do it again, I'll get another one, but I don't think I paid like $5 for this thing. So as long as it gets the job done, I'm not worried about it. So we're going to go ahead and torque all these, and then we will oil these really good, clean oil, and clean oil over here on our injectors, because that one I believe is going over on this side. We'll put a little more clean oil in there, make sure they're lined up just right, and get them set into place. Okay, so we've set everything on there nice and straight, and got it down into our injectors. Now we're just going to go ahead and get all these Torx bolts back in here, and we'll be trying to, I've got an adapter, and I'm going to attempt to get up to this side to the ICP, and it's a lot easier to check this stuff before we get it together, and I believe there's a spot on this other one that I can do the same thing, but in my experience it really wants to leak around these oil rails, so if we don't get these things on straight and get them just right, we're going to have some issues. So I'm going to pump it up with air, we'll get it together, and we'll check all that out and make sure that in fact that we don't have any leaks coming out of these things. Okay, now that we've got all of our Torx bolts in, we're going to go ahead and just go through and tighten these, starting in the middle. We're going to go 96 inch-pounds on all of these, and then after we get these torqued down, we'll get to torquing down our dummy plugs and standpipes there. Okay, so now we're torquing down our dummy plugs and standpipes, and I'm just going to go 60 foot-pounds on these, and these updated standpipes and dummy plugs will be a 12 millimeter. Okay, so the last thing I was doing here after I got my oil rails and stuff on was taking this old glow plug harness. Now the other side wasn't so bad. I was able to pull on the wire because of course the heads of these things broke off, and I'll show you one of them here. They all break on this glow plug harness because they're all brittle, but the other side on the passenger side wasn't so bad, but this side, the driver's side, however, and of course this is the side that had the most rust and everything on it, but these things were seized in there, and couldn't pull them out by the wire. It broke off. I wound up digging in it with a chisel and a pick and using a vacuum, and I didn't think I was going to get them out of there. I thought I was going to have to take my oil rail and my injectors back out and get in the head from the inside to get them. So I can't imagine having some stuck in there like that with the engine in the truck, and I know that there's a lot of people that's run across this issue. So the only thing I could figure out, like I said, was using the pick and a little screwdriver and just chiseling that thing out of there and using the vacuum so the pieces didn't fall down in the head there as I was working it out. But I was finally able to drive my pick down in there enough, and using needle nose pliers too to pull the pieces out. So, but if I had not been able to get a hold of it and pull it out with my little pick tool here, then I was going to have to take this oil rail off to get at it from this other side. And it may be, in fact, you know, if you're working on this in the truck and you've got something like that, it may be in fact easier to take this off, you know, if you're doing some work on it anyway, and get at it from the inside and push those things out, because like I said, these were just stuck and they weren't coming out by no means. I had to break them all to pieces in little pieces and take them out piece at a time. And I mean, this is like all that was left of this one, you know, by the time I got done with it, and some of them were even worse than that. So anyways, I guess my next step, we're just going to get these glow plugs out, and I'm going to be putting it, when I put it in the truck, I'm going to have them out to make sure there's no fluid or anything in the cylinder. So I'm just going to take these out because I knew they were going to be a problem. I'm going to take them out now and just have them out and start getting some other stuff back together. So I'm getting my valve covers on next. I was just cleaning them up a little bit. Probably going to go ahead and try to get my fitting on here tomorrow and air test these, I guess. Forgot about that. Need to air test these oil rails and just make sure. It's easy to do with it out here. I just get a fitting on here and get a fitting on that ICP over there. Just make sure I don't have any leaks in these rails here. So anyways, I'll follow up when I get farther along. Okay, so I come out today. I was going to put the valve covers on. I thought I was going to be getting this engine in, but as it turned out, like everything else, I run into issues, and like almost every single one of these threads for the bolts holding the valve covers is like completely just gone and stripped out. So I figured out why it was leaking so bad on this side here, and I said my only option was to go a size bigger. It had M6 bolts in there, so I went up to an M7 by 1, and I'm having to just go through here and being careful and not to get any of my filings and stuff into the head here. So I've been having to go through each one of these like one at a time, and just I'm going a size bigger, and of course I won't be able to use any of my original bolts and the ones with the studs, but you know, until I figure something else out, it'll just have to be what it'll be. And I'm just going to be putting some bolts. Let me see if I can. I got some M7 bolts that were the right length, and put a washer on there, and just going to put that rubber piece back on there. And I won't have my studs sticking up for the harness and my bracket over here, but until I figure something else out, this is going to have to work for now, because you just can't find those type of bolts anywhere. And said for whatever reason, every one of those things, the threads were gone, probably from getting them too tight or whatever, whoever previously worked on it using impacts or getting them too tight. But anyways, that's all I can do. So I've been spending the better part of the day just going through here and tapping these threads out. And like, I'm no stranger to this stuff. You run into this, seems like every time you go to do a engine or put an engine in, you run into some situation where you're having to go through and use a tap and fix threads. But the extent of this is quite a bit, because it's like every one on there was just not, the threads were gone. There was nothing left, and so I just had to drill it out a little bit bigger and go a size up. So I'll follow up if I get a little bit farther along here. Okay, so this is what I've got. I've got the M7 by 1s, and I got a washer, the approximate size that fits over the rubber. And I'm just using the rubber part that was on these previously. I know it's not going to be just like this, but I would have a very hard time finding a bolt that was an M7 that was the right length and everything that I need to put back in here. So until I figure out something else, this is just going to have to work. It's about all you can do, at this point, with having to drill and make the hole bigger, Okay, so here's this after we got these replaced, and like I said, it was almost all of them on this side. Now we fared better over here, didn't have any trouble, thank goodness. These all worked out fine. Like I said, these don't have to be real tight, it's just to hold the gasket there. So it's probably where the problem had come in, is they were just over tightened, just enough to hold that gasket on there, and that's good enough. I don't use a torque wrench either. So I'm going to see what I can do about getting some more stuff prepped here, and see about getting this in.